And for today's conversation on the Build Community Through Love Network, I have Wallace Miles. What's up, Wallace? How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How you?
Man, I'm here, bro. It's good to be on with you, man, and just to have conversation with you, just to talk about the things you're working on. As we go through quarantine, as we go through, still trying to work on projects, still trying to develop and grow. Just thank you for being here today. So real quick, man, as I thought about introducing you to those who are listening, I had 4 words that start with D when I think about Wallace Miles, right? I have discipline, dedication, determination, and drive. And so I remember I remember meeting you at A&T. That's kind of where we first got our connection, man. And like it's just something different about you, man. Like I remember meeting you in McNair, but I found out that you was a football player and was like, oh man, I want to be a football player, bro. Like, man, it's some BS, dog. I ain't know engineers did football, man. Like this is crazy.
Yeah,
And then you grew up, like as the years went on, I'm like, man, this dude is the best player on our team. And I mean, at the beginning, it was like, man, our team is kind of but man,
yeah.
you blossomed out to be like, man, amazing. So I just wanted like just to open up, just to let you know that those are the 4 words, man, as I was preparing to talk to you today, that just came to mind based off of what I saw from a distance. And as I've gotten to know you here a little closer over the last couple of months, man, like those are the 4 words that I think that really kind of take you, and it's going to keep taking you to the next level, man. So just appreciate you being on, brother.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you being able to see that, and you actually just took me back to my first year at A&T, where I went to the counselor's office, and he told me like, you want to play football, and you want to be an electrical engineer. You know those two don't mix, right? And I might have just been ignorant or just had a dream, but I was like, I'm gonna make it work, and it definitely was a struggle, man, to try to still academically succeed, but also succeed on the field, not just be on the team, like to grow and develop where I could have opportunities that did come my way later on.
We'll talk about that, man, because and because I do want to dive into your background, some back when you was in high school and stuff. But like, talk about that, because I actually like, man, like I actually left high school with the same dream, like, oh, I'm about to be a football player. And I mean, I was getting recruited by a few different places, especially up in the Northeast, and they were just like, man, like we don't have you high enough on our depth chart to be like, man, you can do football and engineering. So I
Right.
mean, you could do accounting, you can do criminal justice, you can do like, sports business, but engineering, man, like, I mean, you could be a walk-on if you want to do engineering so we can see
Yeah,
what you're about. But
it's a different monster.
man, so tell me about, tell me about that, man. Like, cause I'm sure there's like some athletes out there right now who want to go into college and they have a degree that they really want to pursue. But sports is kind of getting in the way of doing that. So tell me about that grind and what that was like.
It was really he had to make a decision, man. You gotta what's really important to me. So when I got to school, I walked on. So it was me making a decision that I was gonna be an engineer and a football player. And that process of making a decision, I had to evaluate what's important. The partying, I mean, going to college, parties, kicking with people that's a staple. But I made a decision that I want to be this and I want to be that. And how does me going into staying up all night, me hanging out all night, me just hanging on the quad, how is that gonna help me get to where I'm trying to go? Because I got these 2 goals. I got to put time. Engineering is, I mean, that's a monster, man. It's something that'll eat you up if you don't pay attention to it.
Oh yeah.
But then football, which takes a lot of energy and time. I mean, people see us on game day, but you got to realize we got 6 a.m. workouts. We got meetings in the middle of the day. We got film in the middle of the day. We got practice. And you got study hall, which normally turns into a football class session. So you got to find a way to fit all of that time and energy, but also strive to get your academics, your degree completed. So it was a decision, and it was just, all right, these are the 2 things I want to do. What can I do daily? What energy, what direction can I go daily to get to those two goals. And the things that don't fit into that mold, I had to step away from. I didn't have as much fun as some people might have had in college, just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
I was focused. If I wasn't working on school, I was probably in the gym somewhere. I was in the room playing a push-up game or learning how to juggle. Like I took it serious that every day I got to make a step towards these two goals.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, because I did engineering at A&T, but I was able to put like my whole energy into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, you know, I don't know how I would have been able to do certain things, because I just remember, like, I mean, even hearing the band practicing at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, walking back from the library, and I'm just like, man, this is. So I remember going back home for fall break in our freshman year, and I remember, you know, I had like a A&T hoodie on and some A&T sweatpants on. Everybody at my high school was like, "Oh, dang, you play, man? I'm so proud of you, man." I'm like, "Nah, I don't play." I hung them shoes up, man. I'm so happy I don't play. I can now, you know, enjoy life, but I can take that same mindset I had for football and put it into the classroom. So I'm not gonna be in the weight room that much, but I'll be in the library, you know, like lifting these books and trying to get smart that way, man. But man,
that's a good point you made though, because what my goal, and we'll probably end up talking about it, is like athletes, there's something that you have to go through. I mean, if it's summer camp, training, practice, whatever, and it builds a determination. But some people don't understand that you take that same determination, that same work ethic, and put it into another field, another direction, same sky's the limit, as if you were training to go to the league.
Yeah.
You just got to direct that energy.
Yeah. It's a redirected discipline.
Yep.
It's a redirected discipline. So then from that standpoint, I remember listening, because you had sent me some of your that one keynote that you did at that school, and I got an opportunity to kind of hear about your upbringing, and how, like, you know, you weren't the best on your team in high school, but you put that work in. So tell me about what it was for a 14-year-old Wallace to step into, you know, that arena, trying to get to the point where I'm like, man, I'm going to be great. I don't care if people don't know my name right now. I'm going to be great. What was that mindset like?
So I'm gonna take it back a little further than 14.
Yeah, take it back.
So when I was a kid, like 4 years old, I was in love with Barry Sanders. Like that was my guy. My dad actually found a way to get me to Detroit, watch Barry Sanders play. So I was in love with him, which caused me to develop a love for football.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was small, my mother, she was scared I was gonna get hurt, so they didn't allow me to play. So every chance I could in the street, in the park, I was playing football. But I transitioned into that same energy, redirected energy, going into soccer. My dad put me in soccer because I just wanted to run all day. But I started to develop some pretty good skills, a pretty good resume on the soccer field. But that mindset of I still want to play football, it rang in the back of my head nonstop. So when I got to high school, I asked my mother, could I play football again? And she was like, nah, I still was probably about 5'7", 125 pounds. Going out there in high school, you playing against varsity dudes that's 230, 245. She was like, no, sir. No, sir. So I continued to play soccer. I played on traveling teams. I played on my high school team.
Mm-hmm.
But my mother made a bet with me because she could tell. I actually ended up breaking my foot on a tennis court playing football before school. I just wanted to play, man. And she recognized that. So going into my junior year, we made a bet that if I got a 3.0 GPA, which really ain't too hard, you just got to focus a little bit.
Yeah.
In that spring semester, my sophomore, she was like, I'll let you try it out. I got that. I went out for football, but because of my soccer background, they made me be the kicker. And I always wanted to be a receiver, like Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. But because I was a soccer player, they made me be a receiver. I mean, a kicker.
Man.
And that didn't sit well, but I kept – the only positive I took from it was, like, I'm on the football field. I get to practice. I got to practice with the receiver, so I was like, I'm going to take the best of it. And we had some pretty good athletes, man. I think we ended up having like 13 D1 athletes come out my senior year.
Say some names, like who?
The biggest name is Cameron Newton, quarterback, the Heisman
What?
Trophy from Auburn. Quarterback for the
What?
Panthers the last couple of years. Yeah, that was my quarterback in high school.
All right, say less. Say less.
That's the talent level. Like Pac-Man Jones came from Westlake. Dude named Kieran Fox, Sean Jones. These people came from my school. I mean, I graduated with a guy named Addison Williams who started corner at South Carolina.
But yeah, folks know Westlake. Like Westlake is that school. People know Westlake. If you play football on the East Coast, you know Westlake.
Yeah, we had them dudes. At one point, we had the most guys in the NFL from one school. So imagine coming into a school with all that kind of talent, and then you wanna get on the field, never having played football. So I understood, like, all right, if I want to play, I got to kick. Eventually, I still got this dream of getting on the field. So I used to challenge the best corner on the team, which was AD, the guy that went to South Carolina. And I used to challenge him every day. And my man he wouldn't put me on the bench next to the water cooler one time. He jammed me up so bad. But I just had that determination. Like, I was like, I want some more. And every time I got a good release or I ran a good route, I even caught the ball sometimes. Like, it was just a building block, a building brick to who I was trying to be. And that was just consistent. I mean, every day I go over there one-on-ones. AD, where you at? Or when we in team, I'm trying to get on AD side. But I just knew going against the best would help me. It's like shooting for the stars and landing on the moon type thing. Like, I'm going for the greatest. And just continuing that mindset, it kind of prepared me for what happened at A&T, because in high school, I think I had 12 catches in high school, and they were probably all in the fourth quarter when we was up. So, I didn't have a real high school receiving career. I was a kicker, and that was cool. But, yeah, that process of going from a child with a dream to just getting on the field, that was transformative for me. And when I got to A&T, it was like, man, I'm used to this. I'm used to working. You ain't got to put me up top. I'm a grind.
Yeah, and that's so unusual, man, because, once you get to high school, especially in the sports realm, you kind of know. You like, all right, these are the starters. These are the folks burning. These are the folks going D1, a couple going D2. This is it. And you typically don't see, the guys who you kind of laugh at in the weight room, like, man, you can't squat. You can't squat more than 185. You can't squat more than this. You typically, those are the people who are automatically counted out. And I think, tell me about the I don't want to call it peer pressure, but tell me about the peer doubt when you got, D1, like top D1 athletes. You got the former MVP of the NFL, who was in the same weight room, same study hall, same film. Like, what was it like when you were actually making that mindset shift? Like, I am going to go against AD. I don't care if he puts me into the water cooler. He could put me in the bleachers. He could send me to the locker room, but I'm coming back. Like walk me through that, because I don't think that's common. I think a lot of people just kind of sit in their lane and they don't rock the boat. So tell me about what that was like for you.
It was that desire that I had something that I wanted to do since I was 4 years old and never got a chance to do it. And when I finally got on the field to do it, it wasn't even a thought to let anybody doubt me, because, I mean, the coaches doubted me, my teammates doubted me. Like, none of that mattered, because I was doing what I wanted to do, and I was going to do it to the best of my ability every day. Of course, people laughed at me. People talked trash to me. People said, "You just a kicker. Just be the kicker." And I was like, all right, that's a phase. And the biggest thing in that time, my dad stayed in my ear. My pops came to me, because in soccer I was a star player. He was like, this is gonna be one of the hardest things you've ever done in your life. You're gonna have to sit the bench, go to practice every day, and work, because all it takes is one play, one injury of somebody not doing something right, and you in the game. So he told me, always be ready, no matter what's going on. So I took that mindset to heart. Like, I don't care if I don't get a rep in practice. If I gotta stay late and run some extra routes, I gotta do that because if our number one receiver goes down and they throw me in, I gotta be ready.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it happened, but the last game of my high school career, somehow I ended up in the game and caught 2 passes, both of them on third down on big drives in the second half. But I was ready for that moment. Like I said, that I had 12 catches in my career. In my career, I had 10 catches coming in my life coming into that game. 2 big catches, just with the mindset from, hey, I'm just gonna be ready. Whenever they call me, I'm gonna be ready.
Was soccer season the same as football season?
Nah, see, we played in the spring.
Okay.
We played soccer in the spring, so it was good. I know in some areas they play soccer in the fall.
Yeah, up in Maryland they play in the fall. So I was just sitting there thinking, I'm like, so you actually gave up the glory to ride the pine in a sport that you really loved and wanted to play.
You just reminded me though, honestly, because I played on the traveling team as well as high school. So the traveling team played in the fall and the spring. So yeah, I would leave football practice and we would drive down to Fayetteville because that's where I was playing at, Fayetteville, Georgia. And I would go to soccer practice. So leave football, go to soccer, and then come back and do it all over. Play games on Saturday. So I have a Friday night football game, a Saturday morning soccer game. I forgot all about that, bro. It was a grind, bro. It was a grind.
Man, so I'll tell you my little story right quick, and then we're going to transition. I think it may help. So, man, I had like 50 some odd highlight tapes, just all the, this is back before they had all the nice stuff. So you had everything on like a little DVD.
Right.
And it, if you had some money, you talk to some of the people to produce you a good little set. So I had me a nice little set, little highlight tape. Every now and then I put it back in just to kind of see that I was decently decent in high school, man. But like I remember calling up, man. I think it was Coach Lee. It was, I guess it was Coach Lee, right, in 2009.
Lee Fobbs.
Yeah, I think, right?
No, Lee. No, Coach Lee. Yeah. You're right. Because we had Lee Fobbs before him, and then Coach Alonzo Lee was about 09.
Alonzo Lee, yep. And that was 08, 09, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember going up and meeting with Coach Lee, man, on a visit. It was like Valentine's Day or something. I went to see A&T for the first time. That's when I fell in love with A&T on Valentine's Day, 2009. Shout out Aggie Pride.
Pride.
I remember, man, I had my highlight tape, man. I'm like, man, look, like, I'm ready to go. Like, you put me anywhere, I'm a grind, I'm a work. I got a high work ethic, man. But I remember, I ain't getting no call back, no nothing. So I called back down in like, May, and they're like, no, I don't know. We may put you on a little walk-on roster, but I'll let you know. Man, I called back June, like, man, I ain't heard nothing yet. They're like, man, we already got 150 some odd people coming to camp. So if you really want to play, you can play in spring ball. And I'm like, man, ain't nobody trying to play no spring ball, man. I'm trying to play now.
Right.
What was that like? Because you told me you had to come in there and walk on. You did kicking. I'm sure if you had 12 catches in high school, you wasn't coming in with no elaborate highlight tape. So walk me through that, because I'm still trying to process how you even got your foot in the door.
It's crazy, man. When you saying stuff, it's bringing back the memories of what actually took to get in the door. Like me and my dad went up there on a college tour, went into the office, and none of the coaches were there, but this dude named Doug Brown, and he was a old time Aggie great, and he sat down with us, talked with us for a little bit, and then the defensive coordinator Deke Adams walked in, and he introduced us to Deke Adams. And my highlight tape that I had put together on a disc. And what I did was I sprinkled my little 12 catches, every last one of them, in between me kicking. So he was watching it, and he was like, oh, this is cool. But every time I kick, he was like, oh, you can kick, huh? We need a kicker. And we ain't had a kicker in a while. He kept saying that, but in my mind, I'm like, bro, I don't want to kick no more. I'm done with the kicking stuff. But that's kind of represents how funny life can be. Like, I was doing this thing that I had no intentions of doing. Didn't want to do, didn't want no part of it. But that was preparing me for the opportunity to get into where I was trying to go. So they ended up calling me, I want to say it was 2 weeks before camp, summer of my freshman year, say, look, you can walk on as a kicker. I was number 90 out of 90 guys. I actually, Coach Adams told me one time that they only brought me in because somebody decided to go to another school. So I filled that last spot, and I got in the door. I showed up to camp, and they had brought 2 kickers. So I'm like, these guys want to do this. It's no way I'm gonna be a kicker on this team. But if that's what it takes to stay on this team until I can shine and do what I want to do, I'm gonna do it. I put a plan together. I even got my dad in it. We went and bought 2 pair of cleats. So kicking shoes, more like soccer cleats. They're a lot lighter. They don't dig into the dirt as good. But like football cleats got longer spikes. Mm-hmm. I asked him to buy me a pair of soccer cleats and a pair of football cleats. So first day of practice, I went out there with my soccer cleats, got that all done. But I had hidden those football cleats under the goalpost, the little pad that you can slide up and down on the goalpost. Yeah. So I hid my cleats under there. As soon as we got done kicking, I snuck off and took a knee, changed my cleats, and took off and got in the receiver line. Didn't ask nobody, didn't say nothing, just got in line. Man. Got to the front, and the receiver coach was like, "What you doing?" Because he realized, like, this the kicker. What is he doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Coach, I'm good. And for some reason, I don't know what it was, he didn't say it. He just said, all right, and let me practice. And then from that point on, every day, I would go change my cleats, go get in the receiver line, and practice as a receiver. I mean, it was at least I was saving one of the starters a rep so they could last through camp, at least. But every day I continued to show something. I continued to make plays, one-on-ones. Got in with the third team, got in with the second team. Then a couple starters got hurt, and I was running with the ones as a true freshman, walk-on kicker, running with the ones 2 weeks before the first game of the season.
A true freshman walk-on kicker. Man, Get out of my face with that, man.
Dead serious, bro.
So you used an opportunity that had nothing to do with what you wanted to do. But because it was, you did what you had to do to work to get to what you wanted to do.
Yeah. And that's something I want people to understand, especially young men. Like, you might not be in the place that you want to be right now. But I guarantee you it's some skill, some person, some development process that you're going to go through in that place you don't want to be that's going to prepare you for when the opportunity comes in that place that you want to be. You just got to see past right now.
Bro, that's big. And that's big coming from me because, like, from my vantage point, because I only saw you on Saturday. I didn't know anything about your preparation. I mean, I saw you around, you know what I'm saying? But not enough to be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you good? What you doing today? Like, I just, I was like, oh man, look, that's why, hey, that's Wallace, bro. We're gonna see him. You're gonna see him in the morning. He gonna be catching some ball. I did not know, man. That is big. That is huge. Because I remember vaguely. I'm like, man, if I can't do this the way I want to do it, then I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's, especially in the politics of football at that level.
It's real.
The politics of it is like, nah, because like you can't be a scout and have somebody come in and become one of the best receivers in the school history as a walk-on kicker. Anyway, so I can get into that for a long time because that's amazing, man. So you actually become a receiver, and I read some of your stats the other day, and you pretty much led the team in receiving yards, or was it receptions?
I led the team reception every year.
Every year, all 4 years at A&T as a walk-on kicker.
Yeah. So they ended up redshirting me that first year because I was still a freshman, so I made freshman mistakes, but they saw the potential, so they let me work as a receiver just in the background for that first year, and I really think that was one of the best decisions that anybody made for me.
Yeah.
Because of course I'm like, I want to play, but that year of development of actually like people are focusing on your development. Like once I became a receiver, I had Coach Vincent my freshman year. And he was a jerk. I mean, that politics was real, but he had some knowledge. He had skill that I was trying to learn. So that year allowed me to develop some real receiving skill instead of just the raw talent that I had practiced against AD and developed. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny too, because all those battles I had with AD was a corner that went to South Carolina and started. Now, no disrespect to the guys I was playing against, but nobody had that kind of skill. So I was used to going against a higher level guy, and now I'm going against guys that aren't as good. So my level had raised where I was able to compete. And that's another thing, like, do more in the space that you don't think that is right for you. Because, again, it's going to prepare you. It's going to raise your level. And, like, I love the DBs I went against as a freshman, but nobody was AD. But that battles I had with him, that gave me the opportunity to shine a little bit as a true freshman and then continue that growth process through that first year.
So walk through that growth process, because now, after your red shirt, you're finally in it for the full season, and you're now making a name for yourself, not just on the football team, not just around campus, but you're starting to actually make some waves in the MEAC. And so talk to me about kind of like how you became, more than just a walk-on, but you became like an actual figure and an actual, person that other teams were scouting. That, we got to stop number 8, because if we don't stop number 8, we may not win the game. So talk to me about, how you transitioned mentally and allowed yourself to maintain that grind mindset, even while you were getting a lot of notoriety.
I'm going to say that it was just keeping my eye on the prize, as they say, because just because they had accepted me as a receiver, that didn't mean they had accepted me as being one of the best receivers or being the go-to guy on my team. So I came in, walked on, they gave me the number 5, and it was because of Doug Brown. I wanted to be like Doug Brown. But as soon as the next year, they brought in 5 new receiver recruits, took the jersey off my back, gave me number 89, and in A&T, the jersey size is based on the number. So if you're in the 80s, you got you a 4X. Oh, yeah. My man, you go back, and it's a game in Norfolk. I had tape on the back and the side to tighten my jersey down because it was so big. But that's in that mindset, I was like, bro, this jersey is not going to stop you. Them taking the jersey off your back, it's not going to stop you. You still got this vision of what you're trying to do. So I think those hardships of not being the guy help fortify my mind mentally. Like, all right, nothing can affect you if you continue to push through it. Yeah, they disrespected you. Yeah, they didn't let you do this. Yeah, you're not the go-to guy. But people start seeing that. Nothing I do to Wallace is gonna stop him. Nothing I do to him is gonna cause him to waver. I got through the first year, I did all right. I won receiver of the year. Got into the second year, we had a whole new coaching change. So I got to impress a whole new staff. I spent this last year and a half showing Lee 5 and his crew that I'm worth taking a chance on. Now Alonzo Lee comes in, and I got to do it all over again. But what you've done in the past prepares you for what you do today, because I came in having to earn a spot. The guys that are on scholarship, they weren't used to, I gotta kind of mold and bend to what these guys want. I was like, look, I don't care. Just tell me what you want, and I'm gonna do it. So a lot of guys end up, and it happens when coaching change comes, they get kicked off the team because they don't want to bend to this new organization, this new government. So that change came. I had to impress them. Then they started bringing in their recruits. So it was a battle of trying to still shine, but then also not diverge so much away from what the new government was trying to do. So that in and out battle was constant, daily. You think you earning some hay, and then they talking about doing something completely different. But you had to be pliable mentally. It's like, all right, I'm not so rigid that I got to do it this way. If this is how I fit in, if this is how I can get on the field, then let me adjust. A lot of people that came through didn't have that mindset, and they kind of fell off the bandwagon when I was still, look, this is what I do. I fit in. I find a way to stay on the field.
So at this point, are you on scholarship? Or are you technically still a walk-on?
Still a walk-on, man.
Dang. So so you still paying to go to school. You led the team in receptions as your, I guess at this point you're a redshirt sophomore.
Right. Yeah.
And so as a new change, you still don't have no money to come to school. So for the student athletes out there, what that means is you have to pay to play.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're around other people who have been paid to come to school and focus on whatever. And you still have to produce in your classes because you can't get on academic probation because you paying to be there.
You paying to be there.
So you still got to stay in school. Wow. Yeah. So, okay. Man, you helping me out with this, man. So at what point did you actually get on scholarship and the likes? Because I haven't been able to actually go behind the curtain with you on that because I've only seen, like you said, like what you've been able to produce on Saturday afternoons. So like at what point did you get on scholarship and how did that process transition you to keep grinding at that point?
So my scholarship came in phases. A&T was on restrictions, which a lot of people don't know. And we had half the amount of scholarships on the team than everybody else in the league. And they also, one of the sanctions was if you're an out-of-state student, you count for 2 scholarships for a full scholarship. So Lee and them came in, and I balled out for them in the spring, and they was like, all right, this dude is consistent. He listens. He works hard. Let's try it out. So they gave me a partial scholarship. So I think it was like a test to see is he really worth giving them the full scholarship? Because with that partial, I mean, people can kind of relax. People can kind of feel like, yeah, I made it. I never had that mindset. I was like, yo. I even put, when people come in camp, you put a sticker on your head, on your forehead, on the helmet. Yep. With your name on it. Mm-hmm. Man, I took that sticker off and put dollar signs. Give me my money, man. Like I don't want no mistaken. I'm here to get this scholarship. Mm-hmm. So they saw that nothing, my attitude, my determination, my work ethic never wavered. So going into my 4th year of school, which was my redshirt junior year, they blessed me with the remainder of my scholarship and my family. We didn't have to take any more debt. I mean, that was actually a pretty emotional time because all the grind and work and verbal abuse and like self-doubt, all of that stuff, and I still was able to find a way to gain acceptance, to be wanted, to earn a scholarship that could help pay for my education.
Man, that's crazy. So you're in a MEAC. You just led the league you led the team 2 years in a row in receptions. You're now climbing up the leaderboard and in your position in the conference. And so now, at what point were you transitioning to say, all right, I need to start eyeballing the league? Like, I want to go to the NFL. I want to make this my profession and not just, something that I grind out hard in college. Walk me through that process. At what point was the eye on the prize now, the NFL?
It was a moment because, like, my whole thing growing up was I just want to play ball. Mm-hmm. And then it became I want to get a scholarship. But the moment that I saw Cameron Newton walk across the stage as the first draft pick in the 2010 draft, 2011 draft, that moment showed me that somebody that was from where I'm from had been in a situation that I had been in could actually make it. Like, I had heard about Pac-Man and all these guys from the past, but, like, I was in class with Cam. I was in practice with Cam. So it became tangible that I could actually do this. So from that day forward, I started a countdown. I come to practice 365 days to the draft, 364 days to the draft every day. Just constantly reminding myself, look, you working towards getting it. You can do this.
Mm.
But watching Cam walk across that stage, that was the trigger that was like, yo, this is a real dream that you can attain.
Mm-hmm. Man, so that final season at A&T, you know, getting all your catches in, you now in the stat books for your position. A walk-on kicker is now in the stats for being a top receiver in the conference and in the history of A&T. And so I remember vividly, like I'm gonna put you on blast. I remember vividly. I remember seeing you at a party one time, and I remember somebody had done something different and had like nudged you a little bit, and you were gone like immediately.
What you mean?
Because I remember they like Swag Surf that came on.
Yeah.
And they nudged you a little bit, and you were like, I can't get hurt. I don't have the time. I'm out. And I'm like, dang, why Wallace? And it was at that point that I actually like talked to one of our mutual friends, and they're like, man, Wallace going to the league. I'm like, oh yeah, he can't hurt himself. His goal is too big.
Yeah.
And so you grew up idolizing Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
You go undrafted, but you sign with the Detroit Lions. My wife from Detroit, her daddy loved the Lions.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit of Lion in me, but I'm a team from Washington fan, and we haven't been doing too well in the last several years. Matter of fact, I always tease that team hasn't won a Super Bowl since 3 weeks before I was born. So I think I'm the curse of the team. But that was the last time they won a Super Bowl. But walk me through that, man. I mean, like to say 365 days to the draft, 364 days to the draft, and yes, the draft came, but you got picked up by a team to go to camp. Walk me through that as just an accomplishment, and then walk me through that as, all right, it's time to get back to work.
Yeah. So after the draft hit, I watched all 200, I think it's 252, 254 draft picks, just hoping and praying they would call my name. And I didn't get called. And the next day, normally they start calling preferred free agent. So people that get signed and get a little signing bonus or something like that. Went through about a week, still no call. So I'm like, man, what I'm about to do? Like my whole focus, my last year, like, yeah, I want to graduate, but I want to get to this league. No call. And I continued my workout regimen, which was wake up, go to the gym on school campus at 6 a.m., then go to class, 10 o'clock, go out to Prolific Park, train with them till 12, come back to class, then go back to Prolific Park at 6 in the evening and train. So I just kept that going. I'm like, man, if anything, I'm going to be ready. So I came back from the gym one morning, and I got a phone call that it was a 313 number. And I'm like, only 313 I know is 8 Mile, Eminem. So I'm like, it's Detroit.
Man.
And I won't never forget Cedric Saunders. He was the player personnel guy in Detroit.
Okay.
And he told me, he was like, I don't know yet, but I might have an opportunity for you. Would you be down? And I'm like, of course. Yeah, like it's no question. I try to keep my cool and everything. Yes, sir. I would love the opportunity. He was like, all right, just stick by your phone. So I went to the room, and somehow I took a nap. I never take a nap, but somehow I ended up taking a nap that day. And I woke up to the phone ring, and it's the same 313 number. I'm like, oh, I gotta get set. I didn't want to sound like I was coming out of sleep. I sat up on the bed, cleared my throat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how you doing, Mr. Saunders? How you doing? It's good to hear from you again. He was like, I got a spot for you. I was like, I could be a Lion. But He came back and told me, he's like, all right, I just want you to understand, we're not signing you. We're just bringing you in a rookie minicamp.
Mm-hmm.
You can earn a position from here. So I'm like, that don't mean nothing to me. I'm used to this. I got to earn mine. I always had. So went to Detroit, went to rookie minicamp. And to my standards, I didn't have the greatest camp. I did show some things against some of the top draft picks they had that were positive. But to me, in my standards, I didn't feel like I had the greatest camp. But we broke it down on the last day, which was graduation day. So I missed my graduation, chasing this dream. Yeah, that hurt my mother probably more than it hurt me. But yeah, we walked off the field and I see the general manager, this dude named Martin Mayhew, and he's just looking at me. And I'm like, he's not looking at me, he's looking at somebody else. I had went and introduced myself in his office one day, so I'm like, he knows who I am, but it's nothing big about to happen. He started walking towards me as I'm walking off the field. And I'm like, who is he looking at? There's nobody behind me. And I'm like, he about to come talk to me. So he stops 2 feet in front of me. Said, you had a pretty good camp. It was good to see you compete. I said, sir, I appreciate you for the opportunity. And then he hit me with this one line. We're going to sign you. And like everything dropped out of me. I think I stood tall and kept my composure, but everything inside of me just dropped. And shook hands, said, I appreciate you again. And I ran into the locker room and grabbed my phone. I was about to be overcome with tears, man. I didn't want nobody to see me bawling, crying. Took my phone, made it to the bathroom, and called my parents. And I had ignored their call the night before because I was like, I don't want to hear anything. I'm kind of nervous. And I called them and finally got in touch with them. And as soon as my dad answered the phone, man, I lost it. Tears, snot.
The ugly,
choking on
ugly cry.
Ugly. I'm in a bathroom stall in the Lions organization in the facility, crying my eyes out because in that moment I remembered going against AD. I remember fighting to be more than kicker. I remember walking on the A&T, changing my cleats. That whole transition process of becoming a receiver and then excelling at a receiver. Like all of that hit me at one time. I couldn't hold it in. We had a pretty emotional moment. I talked to my dad and I talked to my mother. She was trying to console me and also show me her excitement. But that's how I became a Detroit Lion. It wasn't a, hey, come up here, you good, go to camp. It was like, come up here, you still got to earn this. And when I earned it, it was just deeply touching to walk out in the hallway and be standing in front of Barry Sanders, a poster on the wall of him. Like, this is where even the idea of this being possible came from, is looking at you. And now I'm standing in your building, a part of what you represented as a player.
Man, that's huge. Man, congrats on just that, bro.
I appreciate it, man.
And I think too often, we'll read down the resume and be like, oh, dang, that's tough. But like, real talk, man, congrats on that, man. You know what I'm saying? Especially where we come from, right? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter what industry you go into. I think the mindset that I come from A&T or I come from HBCU, I'm less than. You know what I'm saying? And then and because society treats us as less than, because we come from the institutions that we come from, I think we kind of take that on, we take that on ourselves and say, man, I know these other schools people are better because they went to these bigger schools that have a lot more endowment, that have a lot more resources. Their facilities may look better than ours, man. But just the fact that you grinded that thing out and you went and you got what was yours, man. Congratulations, bro. And I know this was like 6 years ago, man. But that's huge, man. Big time. Well, I guess more. 8 years ago? This is a minute ago. Man, but no, that's big, man. You earned that spot, man. So that's huge. And now it's just like, okay, so now you become a professional athlete at this point. Right. You've now crossed over with millions of little kids want to become. And so now that you become a Lion, like, the process just gets harder because now you really got to now perform, because that doesn't mean that you just have a guaranteed spot in the 53-man roster.
Exactly.
So now that you're a professional athlete, Talk to me about that, because I mean, we can just read your resume now and see that, you know, at some point there was a finish line. But walk me through that whole process and the highs and lows.
There's a whole lot of both of those. So I got to Detroit and earned my spot, and it was funny because when I first got there, I was the first player there, and one of the staff walked me through the facility and introduced me to the receiver room, which I'll be going into. And Calvin Johnson is sitting right there looking at me. Nate Burleson is sitting right there looking at me. Titus Young is sitting right there looking at me. And I'm like, these guys are like first, second round draft picks, people that worldwide, world-renowned athletes. And I'm about to walk into their room. And I don't know how it happened, but, the guy told him I was from Atlanta. Of course, Calvin Johnson's from Atlanta. So we struck up a conversation. And before he left that day, he said, I see you Monday. And this was like a Wednesday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is rookie minicamp. So you had to earn to get to Monday. Mm-hmm. And that kind of stuck with me. I'm like, that's the extra spark that I need. Calvin Johnson, greatest receiver in the league, told me, I see you Monday. And I know what that means, what it's going to take to get there. So I got in, I came back Monday, and he was happy to see me. And he kind of took me under his wing in that process. We went through what they call OTAs, on the field training.
I'm about to say, what does that stand for?
Yeah.
Okay.
On field training activities. Okay. So it's not really camp yet. It's like summer or spring practice kind of thing. So we went through that. That was like a 4 to 6 week period. Came back to Atlanta, and that's when you see all the guys training and working out with their trainers. That's that time, that period between OTAs, training camp. So I locked on to Big Bro, where Calvin Johnson was training, and so I was trying to train it. So he got me in with his trainer, trained with him all summer, and came back to Detroit, and still last guy on the depth chart. I mean, all these other guys and everybody in that room, the receiver room, that had some kind of signing bonus, some kind of something given to them. I came in there with no money. Like, people think just because you sign, you make it. Nah, bro, you got to earn that. I think we got a $500 stipend just because we were up there. We had to get our own food. We went at the facility. They gave us some money every week. But nah, you weren't paid yet. Everybody in that room, though, had some kind of something. So I'm like, it's just a walk-on again, man. Everybody else on scholarship. So camp starts, and like they say, it's a different level of competition from the NFL to college. Well, imagine there's a Clemson and all of that college level. Then A&T, I mean, we kind of low on the totem pole. So transitioning from the competition I had at A&T to NFL competition, it was brutal. I mean, and ain't nobody taking nothing easy on you. Your receiver coach not taking anything easy on you. The professional DBs going against Chris Houston, Bill Bentley, they wasn't taking it easy. So I had to refortify my mind that, look, how you got here was grind. How you gonna stay here is grind. So start spending extra time after practice, running routes, catching passes. I mean, they got different techniques that they use in the NFL than they do in college, and I had to learn those on the fly. And that extra time started to show itself probably 3 weeks into camp. And I started to take off, bro. Like, not even to boost myself up, none. I started to take off. And I started to get that feel of this is where I'm meant to be. But it didn't translate into the preseason games. Didn't really get an opportunity. I think I only played in 3 preseason games, and I got a total of 3 drives all preseason. So it's kind of hard to earn a spot that way. Cut down day came, and I felt like everybody was telling me, yeah, we're gonna sign you to the practice squad. And I'm like, cool, that keeps me in the door. That still gives me an opportunity to one day make this 53-man roster. So they cut me, but then they tell you that we're going to sign you. You got to get signed back to the practice roster. So I came in and sat in the office for 5 hours that day, watched 3 football games. And then somebody walks in at 6 o'clock in the evening after I've been there all day and tells me it's not going to happen. So all my anticipation, all the work I had put in was cut. I mean, it was over. So I went out, sat on the curb, waited for the bus to pick me up, and I'm just like, it can't be. It's not it. Worked too hard, did too much. But it was. Next morning, 6 a.m., I was on a flight back to Atlanta after being prepared to sign a practice roster agreement to being home. And I went through a depression, man. I didn't leave my room. My dad would want to watch football on Sundays. I couldn't watch football, man. And it took for me to talk to one of my mentors, this guy named Milt Stiegel. He's actually the one that helped me develop the skills once I got to that starting spot at A&T, to then transition into the greatness that I did. He was the one that helped prepare me for that opportunity. And he told me, just find a way. That's his saying, find a way.
Shout out Milt.
Milt Stiegel, man.
Shout out Milt.
Greatest of all time. I said, if you don't know him, look him up, please.
I'm writing his name down now. You said, is it Milt?
Milt.
All right,
like Milton. Stiegel, Stegall. Greatest of all time in Canada. But when he told me that, I went and started helping out at Westlake with the kids at practice in the evening. I went and found a trainer that put some time in me. And then I got on the phone. I had started to make connections as I went through that process of trying to get to the NFL, and CFL was a connection I had made. And I started blowing their phone up every day. Phone, email, text, whatever. Sending messages through Milt. Like, just take a chance on this guy. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the team that Milt Stiegel played for. And he told me he had nothing to do with it.
Winnipeg.
They called me and told me, can you be on a flight tomorrow? This was like October time. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm there. So my first trip ever to Canada was, I think, October 4th, 2011. And I went up there and lived in a hotel. They wanted to bring me along fast, so I would get up in the morning. I didn't have no kitchen, so my girlfriend at the time, who became my wife, Jamie, taught me to make eggs in a microwave.
Yeah.
Never done that. Yeah, put them in a bowl, scramble them up, turn it on with a minute.
There you go.
And you're good. So I was doing that to get to eat something before I got to the facility. I had to be at the facility at 7, sit with the receiver coach for an hour, just one-on-one, trying to catch up, and then go out there and ball in a whole – the CFL is different than the NFL. It's a different game. So to get thrown into the middle of all of that, in the middle of the season, I mean, they probably 11, 12 games in, get thrown in and have to adjust. Hey, what's a new coach? Same thing, same mindset. Just keep showing up, keep grinding. And that's what I did. So got a chance to play that year at the end of the season. Showed well, but they brought me back ready and primed to, like, take off. But people get hurt in football, and I got hurt. I got hurt in camp. And normally they tell you that that's a death sentence, because I was still considered a rookie. Get hurt as a rookie in a CFL camp, that's a death sentence, because the rotation in and out is so fast. All it takes is a phone call. You get in, he's hurt, he can't help us. Get out, go back. But they kept me around. I mean, I walked around for 2 weeks, limp hamstring, and they kept me. So I was like, they got plans for me. Didn't come like I thought it was going to come. I thought when I got back healthy, hey, you in. Sit around on practice roster for 16 weeks. The practice roster in the CFL is not practice roster in the NFL. It's about a $80,000 difference pay-wise. Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm living off minimum. Like I hate to say it, I used to take this grocery cart from the grocery store that was, I think it was Safeway, right down the street. I go load it up with tuna, crackers, chicken, and take that grocery cart and ride it, and walk it all the way back across the field to the apartment. And I didn't have no car. ain't had no bike. It was just
And it get
whatever
cold
it
up
took.
there.
Man, I had never
It's colder when it is.
Never experienced nothing like that before, man. Wearing 3 or 4 sweatshirts and just grinding it out, man. Showing up on practice on time, working every day. Like, same thing as in high school. You might get a chance if something go wrong. So just be ready. And I was ready when the opportunity came. I got a splash on national television against Toronto. Had
Oh
a
yeah,
100-yard game.
we all watched that game. We was in there. We was watching.
Yeah.
We was like, yo, our boy is on TV.
had a 100-yard game and a touchdown. My mom and dad in the stands like that. It was a culmination of a whole lot of hard work and strife and overcoming. And for them to be in the stands on that day was it made that moment that much deeper for me, because like nobody else, they had been there since the beginning, since I dreamed about Barry Sanders. So for me to kind of get coming out party in the professional world, for them to be there was pretty special.
That's what's up.
You want me to keep going because I went to Ottawa, Edmonton, and Toronto after that.
And those are all back-to-back years?
Yeah. So I got drafted. They had an expansion draft, and I finally got drafted.
There you go.
Yeah.
Man, look, I'll tell you this, though, because you said something earlier. You said your grind is to shoot for the stars, and sometimes you land on the moon. But if the grind is the grind, you know, your aim, just because you made it to the moon doesn't mean you failed. It means that you took off and you fought your way to get to a place that you never imagined. And so the game of football allowed you to see most of the actual North American continent just by playing football. And so, you know, I think that's profound, right? Like, yeah, you didn't get to play a full season with the Detroit Lions, but you have a professional career in athletics, which a lot of people don't get to do. And it was in Canada, but it was a professional career. Can't nobody take that from you. You know what I'm saying? So real quick, before we kind of transition, tell me about like how you had to manage the relationship between the game as a business and the game as the game that you love.
That's a good question, man. That's a great question, because in college, it was, look, I love doing this, so I show up no matter what.
Right.
But then you start getting, the politics increase. You got guys that's making more money so they can do a lot of different things. Like I've been on a team where a guy showed up drunk, laid on the ground during practice. Everybody else running around practice. But because this guy got some money, nobody gonna say anything. So to be able to see that and still like, all right, I gotta handle my business. I can't really worry about everything that's going on, because money makes a difference in how you get treated. And once you understand that, and just remind yourself that the reason I'm here is for me, for my family, it's a lot easier to kind of put the blinders on and ignore the distractions of the business part of what professional sports brings, because everybody's got some type of drama. Everything is bigger or smaller than it should be. Like it's not just straight to love. Football used to be just love, but now I gotta watch how I interact with this guy. I gotta respect this guy just because he's making money, but really he's really a disrespectful person in himself. Like I can't. Like in college, we used to fight. Like if there was an issue on the field, fight it out, and I was cool with that. But you can't go punch Chris Houston in the face.
Oh no,
because he's being right. Because he's being disrespectful. Not saying that he was, but that's just an example. Like you can't maneuver like you used to, as comfortable as you used to, just in the love of the game, because you got to worry about, all right, if I do something like this, then the scouts are going to do this, or the GM is going to do this, or all of this stuff that's happening over top of you is governing your opportunity just to be here. So it's just it's a cloud that hangs over you that you have to kind of just learn how to maneuver in. But always remember that the reason you're here is for the love of the game and for who you are. all that other stuff really doesn't matter. But it's easy for it to kind of seep into your mind, into your spirit, if you don't put those blinders on and
For sure.
intentionally focus on why you're here.
That's huge. And so as you've transitioned out of football and into a different career, you've maintained the love and the heart of really wanting to pour back into young student athletes, young athletes, people who are just, trying to establish what they want to do in their place in the world. And you've done that through motivational speaking. You've done that through writing. And so tell me about, like, where that love is and what you're doing right now. Because, word on the street is somebody wrote a book. So tell me how you're now beginning to wrap up these experiences, these life lessons that you've had in such a young life so far, and producing that into some material to really inspire the kids in this country and around the world.
So when I got released from Toronto, the last time I went to Virginia, where my fiance was living, my wife now, and like I didn't have anything, I didn't have any connections. So I started Uber driving, and that was go from I'm a professional athlete to I'm driving Uber. No disrespect, but it's like that's not how the transition's supposed to be. But by chance, I picked up these kids that were coming out of a training facility, and I started talking to them. And they played football. I'm like, man, I want to give back to the kids somehow. So they introduced me to their lead trainer. We sat down, had a conversation, put me through like a little test run. He brought me on. And as I'm watching these kids work out and train and do these different skills, I'm like, man, I wish I would have known that the stuff that I'm trying to impart on them when I was their age kind of helped. I mean, even if I didn't become a great athlete in that moment, I could see better where I was trying to go. Like I was in the middle of it, just flailing around, just hoping for the best, trying to get an inch. But to have the mindset of what is actually going on and what it's going to take ahead of time would have been phenomenal. So I had started writing the book in 2012. My mother had mentioned it. I was like, that's a cool idea. So I started writing. But once I sat down and was watching these kids, we were going on trips to colleges, start talking to them, I was like, man, all this information that I have in my head, it could help so many people. And like, I want my life, the legacy of who I am, to impact somebody to get to their dream, to become something greater than they could have even seen in themselves. And I just said, all right, the way to at least get the thought process flowing is to write. I'm not a loud speaker. I don't try to yell and rah-rah. I led by example. So my way of expressing myself for a long time has just been writing. And then maybe reading those writings, but get it out of my head through writing. And the book just continued to grow and grow. And I get around kids nowadays, and it's instinctive to want to help them. Like I know I got a wife, I got work, I got the business, but it's like a kid hit me up on the field last week. It was like, anybody to train? And my first instinct was like, I want to help, but I had to think about everything else that it's going to affect. But I know I get on the field once or twice a month. I told them, just meet me out there. I'm not asking for no money. It's just the instinct in me wants to give what I've learned, what I've experienced to somebody, because the greatest joy to me, especially moving forward in life, is seeing other people excel and being a part of their stepping process to their success.
For sure. And so that grind doesn't stop, right? And so, cause you said it earlier, you said, at some point from an actual basketball reference, the ball's going to stop bouncing. Right. And I remember going to a camp. I went to the Red Arbok camp back in, I was in high school, man. I think it's like 2007. And the first guy who came out and spoke to all the campers, man, he just threw the ball up in the air, and we just legit sat there and watched the ball bounce until it stopped bouncing. And his thing was, look, at some point, y'all game is going to stop. Like, you're just not going to keep going. But you got to keep going at something. And so what goals and objectives do you have moving forward, and what do you now put this instinctive grind? What are you feeding that grind, and how are you placing that grind in the next thing?
So initially, whenever you have an idea, it's like this massive picture you see, and it's like, how do I get there though? Like, yeah, I see that vision.
Yeah.
I see what I want to do or how I want it to turn out, but how do I get there? So right now I'm in the process of developing strategies to, I guess it's great to get a book out and everything, but to get the content to somebody that it can help change them. So if it's a tag team of approaches of YouTube, social media marketing, going to speak and putting a book in their hand, the goal is for them to get the knowledge. I'm really not even worried about the money, and I know that's something that you gotta get to at some point. But like my focus is, how can you get this knowledge and hold on to it and use it to your benefit? Because, like I said, the thing for me is helping people get to their success. It may not be sports, it may not be football, basketball, whatever, but you can understand the thought processes that you're gonna encounter, the way to push through adversity, because it's coming. Mm-hmm. Then that can help you get to your platform where you can stand on your own. And that's my end goal. So just right now is building a strategy to get the content to the target audience.
That's wonderful. And so real quick, as the two of us wrap up, man, just take this as an opportunity. You're on stage, the mic is primed and ready, and you got thousands of kids listening to you, especially those who are about to graduate or have graduated from high school and didn't have the opportunity to walk across that stage. Be their commencement speaker in these next couple minutes or next couple seconds, and just drop something for them to allow them to know that as they transition into this real world, into college or whatever their next step is, let them know something that can continue to allow them to aspire, grow, develop, and shoot for their dreams.
So to all the young people who do dream, everything that you've done in your past, that's who you are today. You're a combination of that. It could be good or bad, great or small. But look in the mirror, see the real you. Don't put the facade on there. I'm the coolest, whatever. Take that away. Look in the mirror and see who you are. And then take that image and project who you want to be. From this point on, all the steps that you take, all the decisions you make, that's what's going to get you to that vision. The good part about it is even if you don't get to that vision, all the experiences, all the knowledge, the skills that you learn in that chase to get there will create a you that's more applicable to go in so many different directions. I never saw myself in construction, but the tenacity, the leadership, the grind, the people skills, everything that football developed in me in chasing that dream gave me the personality, the presence to when I stepped in front of somebody, they were willing to give me a chance in a direction I knew nothing about. So if you take what you have today and make decisions to grow into that vision of yourself, you're going to become something maybe that you never thought about, but it'll be greater than that person you are today. If you don't understand who you are and just kind of move around, then you're probably going to end up being stagnant. But if you see who you are and then envision who you want to be, I promise you, something great is going to come of it. And then at the end of that, you'll be able to tell your story to somebody else and help them grow. And they'll be part of your legacy. Take that time and look in the mirror. See who you are.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. I appreciate you being on. This is a conversation with Wallace Miles, man. I have something here that you had said before, man, from a walk-on kicker to a professional wide receiver. to now a motivational speaker, a leader in construction, a leader in Atlanta, Georgia, a leader throughout Georgia, a leader of men, a leader of those who are aspiring to dream dreams and to dream big dreams, man. Thank you so much. This was another conversation on the Build Community Through Love Network. You guys can continue to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Build Community Through Love. And in the meantime, as we continue to grow, let them know. Tell them we're building. Thanks,
We're
Wallace.
building. Yep. I like it.